was Neues gibt in vvvv 50beta35.2. Not much, I can say. This is mostly maintenance release, so we try to focus on making the whole thing more stable. If you don't want to rely on my ramblings, then I would like to recommend you the changelog. Here we have a full list of changes for this release, and I will of course not cover all of them in this video. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned last time is that we have this new startup patch which features our new tutorials. If you click this open button here, you will get to the first tutorial, and you should know these are tutorials really for total beginners. So here you learn about what is a node, what is a pin, what is a link, how to connect nodes with links and so on, how to operate I/O boxes and so on. So if you have a friend who is interested in getting into vvvv, then it would be nice if you could point them to check out these tutorials, because they should really be helpful to get started. Also, they come in different languages, and I'm happy to say that we got an Italian translation by user age99, and also we got a French translation by our French user, whose name I'm certainly spelling wrong, but I like to call him Jebescoudi. That's my take on his name. So thanks very much. If you are also in the translation business and want to provide a translation for your language, then please go to github.com/vvv/vvvtutorials. Here we have a separate repo, and here we explain how you can contribute your translation. Now I will close this and we will have a look at what's actually new. The only thing that's new in vvvv this time around is a node called MIDI file. To see what it is about, I will right-click it to open its help patch. And there I see that this node takes a MIDI file and then parses it, so I get some information about track count, metrical timing, and the pulses per quarter note, whatever that means. And down here we have a new node called MIDI track that connects to the MIDI file. Here you can select a track to get all the information like channels, nodes, velocities, start time of the node, end time of the node. And this is used down here in this patch to visualize all the data that's in this MIDI file. One day someone came into the RC chat, and I forgot his name, but he asked for a feature where he wanted to be able to drag drop text that he selects in a browser into an I/O box. So that is now possible. And this also works with links, so you can just drag drop a link into an I/O box. And then I think it was user temp also on IRC. He asked for a way to be able to clone modules. So you know that we can already clone effects and plugin templates. But now, as you can see in the tooltip, it says use Control Enter or Control click to clone this node. So we can now choose any of the modules, press Control click, and then we get this clone dialog where we can choose a new name. And usually if the patch is saved already, the path is also filled out, so I can immediately press clone and I have a copy of that module that I can start from. So that should be useful. Then there was a bug fix to the separate node. It's a very popular node, and it turns out it had another bug that was reported by guest, so thanks for that. One last thing I want to show you is that we have two new shader semantics for DirectX 9 shaders. So I'm just cloning this here to show you. You can now write float2 foo target size, or inf target size, where the target size gives you the size of the render target in pixels, so something like 512 by 512 or something. And the inf target size gives you 1 divided by that target size. Both are useful for when you write a shader that's working on pixel basis. And of course both have been available for DirectX 11 shaders for a long time already. That was it for vvvv, and now I will show you a few things that are new in VL. For that I will also just clone a VL template on the desktop just to be able to show you around here a bit. So we can now just right double click and choose to create one of the IO boxes. That's new. We can right double click a link to insert an IO box directly, and you remember you can already just enter any node with a double click in a link. Also what's new is now if you undo these changes, you don't have to press undo twice as it was before. Also you can now just grab a link to create additional link points. That's nice. You know, of course, from vvvv that if you have a link, you can select and simply right click to delete it. Now we've moved this gesture in VL to the middle click because we wanted to keep the right click free for the context menu. Another thing that's new, we can now resize IO boxes and of course any ordinary node, just like in vvvv. We have added a new way to create inputs and outputs. So far you would write input, enter, then give that input a name. And now you can do it also the other way around. You can type the name first and then choose input. And the same works for outputs. Choose a name first and then press output. Then there is one thing that is fixed, you know, when you have a node like the map or the map clamp that have those icons, which means that there is an implementation available for them, which you can view and edit even. You can just middle click those nodes and you will be directed exactly to the implementation of that node. So if I go back and middle click on the map clamp, then I will be shown the map clamp here. So that's very useful when you're navigating larger patches. Alternatively to the middle click, you can of course right click and open. It's the same thing. And if you don't see the arrows on the map and the map clamp, then you have to go here to the settings, and this will open up the settings XML file that is located in your user directory. And here you're looking for the entry called node show implementation icon and set that to true if it isn't yet. Then you should see the arrows here for nodes that have an implementation. So that's it about the little new features. A lot of other little glitches have been fixed. You know, the region sizes were not correctly. Sometimes some nodes didn't show the right size. All that has been fixed. Now I want to show you two new nodes. First we type contains to see a range of nodes, like the sphere contains box or point, the rect contains point or other rect, circle contains box contains line, and so on. So these are a range of very useful nodes that allow you to do something like collision detection or something. And one of them is new, and it's called the range contains value node. This is comparable to what we had in vvvv with the equals node, which takes can compare values, but also takes an epsilon to give you a range of values it would compare to. And in VL, this node is now called range contains value, takes a minimum and a maximum and the value, and will tell you if the value is within the given range. Also, you can say if you want to exclude the borders or not. And the node comes in a second version. The range contains value with the version range, which takes a range as its input and the value. So instead of minimum maximum, it takes a range, and the range is you can create a range from 2 or a range with center and width. That would go here, but is of course essentially the same thing, just with a different way to specify the inputs. And the other nodes I wanted to show you is values to vectors and vectors to values. Those are useful if you have a normal spread of values where you know that each 2 or 3 consecutive values are to be interpreted as vectors. Then you can use the values to vectors, and it will convert a spread of floats to a spread of vectors. And the other way around is the vectors to values. So if you have a spread of vectors, you can get that converted into a flat spread of floats using this node. And also sometimes useful here is the from values node, that if you have a spread of exactly 2 floats, it will return you a vector. If you have a spread of 5 floats, this node would convert the first 2 entries into a vector and discard the rest. So this is sometimes useful. And that's already it about the most important new things in this release. Again, remember there's a full changelog with all the details. And remember, there's a maintenance release, so there's a lot of changes that happened under the hood that are hard to demonstrate here. And as always, if you find any problems, please let us know on the forum. That's it. Good patch.